Hi. So we are looking at the medieval era in Unit 2, and today we're specifically going to be looking at Illuminated Manuscripts, or Lesson 3. So the objectives are still learn about the characteristics of medieval art, but also specifically the art created during the Dark Ages. Medieval art in Europe, the important thing to always remember about all of the art created during this time, just 1,000 years from the 5th to the 15th century, is that it was mostly created to spread the teachings of Christianity. There was no goal of the artists to become famous in and of their own right. They were creating art for God, to celebrate God and to spread Christianity. They're forming, and that's why most of the artists are anonymous as well, so we don't always know who made it. It's just the name of the artwork most frequently, or where it was from. So there are four main periods of the medieval art movement. There's the early Christian, the Dark Ages, the Romanesque, and the Gothic. And like I said, today we're going to be looking at the Dark Ages specifically. One thing about Illuminated Manuscripts, I've had the privilege of seeing some in person because I grew up in France, and it was always really neat to me because often they would be exhibited in cathedrals or in stone buildings with windows that were high up on the wall. And so the lighting would have been much like that the monks would have been experiencing in the scriptoriums, this big room with thick stone walls, and it's kind of dark and illuminated in different places. And the books were huge. Like the ones that I saw were really, really large, you're talking like big, big pages. So here you see this man is looking at this gigantic book that seems like, it's almost as big as he is. But there also were very tiny ones. But in either case, you can see that the illuminations really are a highlight. They're bright. And so I find that very easy to remember because the Dark Ages are it was literally dark. People didn't have electricity, of course, and so, your light is by candlelight. The candles burn really fast, so you can't use a whole lot of that. So it's going to be firelight and candlelight, but mostly it's going to be dark at night. And a book that has gold that shines is really going to seem that much more sacred and holy because it has that brightness in itself. And so it's good to, remember Illuminated Manuscripts, Dark Ages, yeah. So it's like two sides and it kind of goes together. So they would have been handwritten on parchment paper by monks in Latin. Monks would have been some of the few people that would have had the education to read and write. Most people would not, besides monks, would not have known how to read or write. So the images, those are not only for reverence, but they're also, for education. Just like the stained glass is for education when you see the stories or the frescoes that preach about the Gospels, and people would understand them because they would see the figures and recognize the different people in the stories and understand the narrative that was going on without being able to read the text. And they're very beautiful, and it also shows their care. Shows how much they revered these texts and that they were sacred. And so they all would have been all together in the scriptorium at the little desks, doing the work very carefully. And I wanted to show you, this is a postcard that I got from one of the exhibitions. And do you see, let's see, you can see that there's these lines very lightly. And I think that's really cool because it's kind of like our line textbooks that you write on with college rule, we're still doing the same thing. They have their lightly lined pages that they would write on so that they wouldn't make mistakes and go all across, and everything would be nice and neat. And I think that's kind of cool when traditions stick around in ways that we don't expect. Okay, so that's something that is just true of all medieval artwork, is it's really to spread the glory of God. So vocabulary. So you have illuminations, which are all the two that we're going to be looking at, and that is decorative manuscripts or written texts that are decorated, right? Carpet pages themselves are mostly pages with geometric forms that don't have text. So they would have been kind of like a cover page at the front of each of the Gospels in the Bible, and it just would have been covered with illustrations, like a carpet, I guess. So the Lindisfarne Gospel, the Gospel of Matthew, and I want to point out to you here up at the top, and hopefully you can see my pointer here, it says Matthäus. So that would be Matthew, no doubt, in Latin. So often if you look at the artwork carefully, often what you're being asked about it, you can see it. If you know how to look at the page or at the artwork, you'll be able to understand and recognize symbols and, written elements within the actual artwork to help you, okay? So the Lindensfarne Gospels had the 4 Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And they're all written in Latin with illuminations throughout. What's specific about the Lindensfarne Gospels is that, it has illuminated text. The designs are more abstract. There's not as many figures here. It's more abstract geometric designs. This is now located in the British Museum, and in the notes, you'll be able to access this link down here, which will take you to the British Library if you want to learn more about the Lindensfarne Gospels. The cover was thought to be decorated very ornate with metal, silver, gold buckles and jewels, and just a very ornate cover out of leather, and that was lost in a Viking raid. I guess it was taken. The fact that there was a Viking raid is not something that's that unusual, considering that this was a time called the Great Migration, where there was a lot of movement going on with different people. So in Scandinavia, there would have been the Goths and the Vikings, and then they were spreading out in ships. And the Lindensfarne itself is located, right here's the United Kingdom, so it's located right around here on the coast, so it's islands, off the coast of Northumberland. So they were raided. There were raids happening all over, people migrating all over. The Celts themselves converted to Christianity in the 5th century. So there was a lot of different combinations of cultures going on. But this one lost its cover in a raid. That's the point of that. So this is, again, the late 7th or early 8th century. So right there in the Dark Ages off the coast of United Kingdom. Here's a carpet page within the Lindensfarne Gospels. Look how beautiful that is. This is a detail here, so you can just see how gorgeous and how much time that would have taken an individual person, which in this case might have just been one person, a monk named Edfrith, in honor of St. Cuthbert. So in this case, we might know. But you can see there's crazed forms, bright colors, all these twisting shapes. And there are some abstract humans combined with letters, I guess, if you know where to look. And I can't point any out to you here. Maybe this is a snake or something, but they're hard to see. It's more abstract and geometric. Then the Book of Kells. So the Book of Kells, and this is another place name, right? So in this case, this was created by Columban monks. And they traveled from Iona Abbey, and I included this picture of it here because I think it's cool to think, okay, somewhere in there, there's a scriptorium where all these monks were busy painting painstakingly these odes to God and rewriting the script in Latin and copying the Gospels. And just that was their work. That was their lives, was to create this beautiful text. Yeah. So they traveled from here. And moved to the Celt from Scotland, from Iona Abbey in Scotland, and moved to the Kells in Ireland, which is an area. And they went to a different abbey, and this is one of the pages. This is another carpet page. You can see there's no text, but you can definitely see that it's different. There's figures here that are recognizable. These angels, you can see that they're actual. Well, this one's an angel, and these seem to be animals, but you can see that they're very clearly figures. So at the earliest, this one was in 800, but at any rate, it might have been started in Scotland, but it moved to Ireland and Kells, and it was finished there. And they also moved because of Vikings, but they did not lose the cover. Okay, so here's another carpet page, and here's another figure. So you see that difference between the abstract Lindensfarne and the Book of Kells that has more figures. There's more Celtic knots. Where the Celtic design is merging with Christian symbolism. And this one was produced by several monks. So they can tell by the difference in handwriting and the difference of, tendency in figures that it was produced by several different people. So this is the first and the oldest image of the Virgin Mary found in a manuscript. Okay, so this is anytime you see a figure with a young child, and if it's a woman, it's usually going to be virgin and child. You can see that there's lots of colors here. There's purple and lavender, and it's bright green and orange. There's just a lot of vibrant color because the Book of Kells was produced a little bit later than Linden's Farm. There's more, I guess, technological advancements, and they have like brighter colors. There's snakes along the sides here and other animals interwoven, but it's less abstract. You can see what these things are, right? And again, it's a carpet page, very detailed, and little to no text. So I hope you're interested in those. I just think they're really beautiful, and I hope that you enjoyed this, and I hope to see you in class following Friday, not tomorrow, but the next one. Okay, bye-bye.